What's up, Valorant fans? Welcome back to the Valorant Report. Today we are dealing with the best North American teams currently in Valorant. After the FaZe Clan Invitational came through, our results are all in, our statistics are all updated, and we're ready to rank our teams again. Reminder that I will not be ranking any teams that we've only seen once. So teams like FaZe Clan, even though the argument can be made, we saw the organization twice, that's a brand new roster. So in my mind, we've only seen them once. Same thing with Bloom, China Win, haven't seen them enough to fully rank them. So I was going to do just a top 8, but I thought it was fun to kind of talk about a couple other squads that are on the outside, and maybe their rankings might not be accurate compared to maybe some other squads that are out there, but based on what we've seen and based on the fact that we just saw them play, I thought it was fair to include a top 10 list this time through. Starting off at the bottom, it's 100 Thieves, and for 100 Thieves, there's really not much to look at in this statistics box and feel good about. 4-11 in overall matches, not good. 12-18 in overall maps, not good. A minus 0.6 differential, not bad, but not good. It's one of those things for 100 Thieves that we're at a point here after they lose to a good Immortals team and then lose to FaZe Clan, who I would say was weaker than they were in playoffs during the group stage. You're looking at this top 16 finish for 100 Thieves, and I think we're finally getting to the point where we can't just sit there and say, oh, they just need more practice. No, it's time for a change. Outside of Venerated and Hiko, I don't really feel confident in any of the other three players at any given moment in time. I don't know if it's necessarily a full sell, get some new players in the mix, or what the case would be, but something has to change for 100 Thieves, and in the moment, definitely outside my top 8 at least. In my 9th position, I still will give some credit to Built by Gamers. It was a rough weekend this last weekend for them. Top 16, they don't get out of groups. They lose to Gen.G. Okay, I think we expected that. But then losing to Lemonade Stand was definitely a blow, and one that I look at and say, what the heck went wrong here? This is a squad that finished top 6 at the 30 Bomb Invitational, in which they were able to beat teams like Mamba Mode, T1 Academy, Shiba, all extremely comfortably. And those are all teams that, in my mind, are on the rise. Very well could be good squads in the near future depending on their practice and rehearsal. The problem for this squad has always been getting over the elite teams, and that seems to still continue to be the case. But even while doing that, they are still 9-10, 13-20 in maps. Not the greatest though. Map average differential minus 2.16 is actually the worst that I track at the moment, which goes to show you that their wins are close, but their losses, they're pretty bad. In my 8th position, a new showing here, mostly because, again, the last I did power rankings, they'd only played one weekend. It's Complexity. 6-7 overall since we've been tracking them, 11-14 in maps, and a minus 1.04 map differential. Not bad at all, but for Complexity, the good news here was, yeah, you got beat up a little bit by Team Envy the first time around, but you're able to get past Mix-Up pretty comfortably, 2-13-8s, and then you were able to compete with Team Envy, taking another map off of them, but your losses were much closer this time around, showing that the adjustments, the adaptations, they're all there for Complexity. And I love this roster. AGM, Com, Frisco, Ojai, and XP3, I think, are 5 very talented players. It just comes down to cleaning up some of the things that we've seen kind of plague other squads to the point where now, okay, we can look at this Complexity team and say, yes, they can start to compete with the elite squads that are currently out there in North American Valorant. In my 7th position, a big drop for T1. And the big reason why, and you're going to take a look at this, they actually hold the 3rd best overall record win percentage. 12-5 overalls, good. Almost a 70% map record as well, 25-11. Also very good. And they're my 2nd highest by map average differential winners. By 3 points on average they win by. All that is good. But the problem is, you take a look at what T1 has been able to do or not able to do versus other top teams since the last 2 times we've played. They have not been able to really win anything versus the top other squads that are around them. Yes, they do beat Team Envy, but they get beat up pretty bad by TSM. They can't get past Gen.G. And in my mind, I'm not necessarily sitting here worried about this roster as a collective 5, but I am worried about the work ethic. And I'm not going to sit there and stipulate too much, but you wonder if players like Skadoodle, Brax, if they're really taking it as seriously as the other squads that are out there. Your Sentinels, your TSMs, your Cloud9s. Are they actually putting in that kind of dictated rehearsal? Or is it just going through the motions, getting by because we're 5 individually great players, we'll just kind of ride on that, and then eventually maybe they exit from the scene, not really wanting to step away from their streams or things like that? It's all speculation. I don't have an answer, but you definitely kind of see that sentiment starting to come through. And for me, with the top 8 finish for T1, it's just not enough. You expect higher, and I think that until we do, they're going to continue to sit here just outside my top 5. In my 6th place spot, I do have a 1 placement move for Team Envy. I thought they played really, really well this last weekend. 2 wins versus Complexity. A couple of things go wrong when they play up against T1. They did have a chance almost on the bind to bring things back. Not quite able to do it. But then they beat Cloud9 in 3. All the maps are relatively close. And they play Sentinels very, very tight to potentially upset 2 major squads in 1 weekend. The unfortunate thing is then they drop down to the losers bracket. They play Gen.G. They don't quite get the split in overtime. And I think if that matchup were to go to 3 maps, I think Envy would have had some extra favor there, but they don't beat Gen.G, so they sit in the middle. And for Team Envy, 14-13 at overall record, okay. 26-26 in maps, just 50-50. And then the big thing is their average win differential is only a plus 0.12, which again goes to show that their losses and their wins are relatively close, considering their win-loss ratio and their map record. So they're playing everybody relatively close. That's the good news. It just comes down to how are you going to be able to get past the teams that are ranked above you in my mind. In my 5th position, no move here for Gen.G, which is going to feel a little strange after a 4th place finish this weekend. And then at the 30 Bomb Summer Cup, they finished 3rd. But for me, Gen.G, I think, still has more to prove. 26-12 overall, 45-26 in the maps, and a plus 1.14 differential for each map that they play. For Gen.G, though, again, you take a look at some very scathing results. Mostly you take a look at that Lemonade Stand game where they almost didn't get into the playoff, you got to keep in mind. Lemonade Stand were able to take 1 map off of them convincingly and hold them close in another. So that's not good news. They were able to take an overtime game versus Immortals, but beyond that, they got kind of smoked. Same kind of consideration for Envy. I think if they don't get that overtime win on Split, it would have been a much different series. And then they play Immortals again, and the favor is no longer there for them to improve even a slight bit. So for me, I just got Gen.G sitting here in the 5th position, not quite a top 4 squad, and I think it'd be hard to argue that they are, even though they finished 4th place. I think if they were on the other side of the bracket, they would have lost to like your Cloud9 or so. Like if Cloud9 and Immortals run opposite sides of the bracket, I don't think Envy or Gen.G get through them. So that's kind of my thoughts on them at the moment. Going into my number 4 position, though, I do have the Immortals. It is a pretty big raise for them. They had a little bit of a weird background when it came to, especially from our last power rankings. They finished top 8, remember, at the PAX Arena. But then at the 30 Bomb, they finished 4th. They lost to Gen.G technically there. But the fact that they were able to beat Gen.G twice this last weekend, I think it's hard to argue that Gen.G should be above them at this going time. Beyond that, though, they did play Sentinels at least pretty close on 1 map. The bind was relatively tight, 9-13. And beyond that, you were able to beat Cloud9. So that's good news for Immortals overall. It definitely makes the argument that I think you could be a top 3 squad, but I'm not convinced as of yet. 24-12 in the overall matches, not bad at all. 38-25, also very good. And then a 1.79 map differential when it comes to the round count. In my 3rd position, I do have a hit for Cloud9. I'm not going to put them underneath Immortals yet because I think, again, if Immortals and Cloud9 don't play each other, they probably would eventually, and I don't know if the result would have been different, but Cloud9 looked a little bit flat when they came out to play up against Immortals. This is still a team that's 17-10 overall, 34-23 in the maps. Both of those are near parallel to where Immortals are, but when they win more convincingly. You still have to consider that this Cloud9 team is coming off of 2 very good 2nd place finishes at the PAX Arena and before that at the Pulse Invitational. This top 6 is going to hurt a little bit, but you're able to essentially take down FaZe Clan, take down TSM. Those are important stat lines, I think, more than the losses to Envy and the losses to Immortals. The fact that you're able to beat a squad like TSM in groups, I think was definitely showcasing this team should be a top 3 squad. In my 2nd position, the Sentinels will drop from their throne, 31-7 overall. They definitely still hold the best overall match win percentage, and beyond that at 58-19. Their map differential is also the strongest in the overall scheme of the North American Valorant scene. Plus also a 3.68 differential for each map is also very strong. But the thing about it is you lose to TSM. So you can't really put them at the number 1 spot anymore. Even though I think if that were to go to a 5th game, I think Sentinels could have technically taken it from TSM. But since we only saw the 4 maps, And well, the dramatic comeback fashion that TSM were able to bring, it's hard to not put them number 1. They were 3rd before in my mind. Now they're number 1 again. 80% win rate at 28-7, 52-20 in the map count, and a plus 2.78 total differential. Impressive wins, I think, throughout those playoffs. Sentinels over them twice. That's the other thing I didn't mention, is the fact that they beat them twice, and they were able to handle Immortals pretty comfortably, are all good. The only thing that kind of maybe raises an eyebrow is that loss to Cloud9 in the winners finals, in which they did get beat up at least on the bind, but everything else was either good in their favor or pretty close. So those are kind of my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think below. Again, I did not include FaZe Clan in case you missed the beginning of the video. Just to re-hit it, once we see them play twice, I'll have them in the mix for sure when it comes down to where they overall rank. I just don't want to put something out there off of only seeing them play a single time. So let me know what you guys think down below. Who did I miss out on? Who am I overvaluing? Who might I be undervaluing? And beyond that, we'll be taking a look to see what goes on in the European Edition series this upcoming week. So make sure you stay tuned. Subscribe on your way out. And until the next video, hope you guys keep holding it down. Later. Bye-bye.